Um, on to an actual sports development here.
Okay.
All right. And ordinarily, I think we talk about this, but we wouldn't probably pay as much attention to it as we're about to, because when there's no sports going on, what do you do? ESPN.com today, or late last night, issued its way too early National Football League rankings. All right. So these are the way too early National Football League rankings, which I was interested in checking out, Declan, based on the fact that I thought the Vikings would have fallen. I would have thought the Vikings tumbled quite a bit after all the defensive losses. Do you think that's fair?
I thought so too, man.
So I thought to myself, yeah, the Vikings are probably going to be in the middle of the pack here. Something like 14, maybe 15, 16, something like that. So not awful, but not great. Their top 8, I will roll through here. Not surprisingly, Kansas City is 1, Baltimore is 2, Niners are 3, the Saints are 4, the Packers are 5. That's the first one that I questioned too. The Packers won 13 games in 2019, and I think the Packers are a nice team. I don't know. I don't think the Packers are a 13-win team.
Oh, they were the luckiest 13-win team we've ever seen.
And I don't think that they are the 5th best team in this league by any means right now.
No.
Now, could they be a top 10 team? Yeah, that's fine.
Of course, man.
But they should be in the second half. I don't see them as a top 5 team. And again, it goes Chiefs, Ravens, Niners, Saints, Packers at 5. Seahawks at 6. I would probably put the Seahawks above the Packers if it was up to me. And then the Titans, who might be ranked a little bit too high. The Titans are an unknown to me at 7. And then at 8, your Minnesota Vikings. This one surprises me. And I guess my question, and I understand that this is an exercise in the draft is not here yet. Free agency, the important part is done. But this is an exercise I get in trying to acknowledge how good teams were in 2019 and make a bit of a prediction based on their moves so far, what you think of their odds for 2020. But the Packers at 5 and the Vikings at 8 strikes me as way too high for both, or too high for both. I think the Vikings are, if you look at what they've lost, which includes not just defensively, but let's look at offensively. You take Stephon Diggs off this team, you still don't have stability on your offensive line, and you're telling me that you think the Vikings are the 8th best team in this league? I don't see it.
I don't get it either.
I see them as being, I think 14 or 15 would be very fair.
I could see them 12, and that's close to where you're having them too, I know. Yeah. But 8 is awfully, awfully lofty. And even if you see, I think on that write-up, Judd, they jumped up a spot. It says previous ranking 9.
Correct.
So they climbed up. And I think the Vikings and Titans are they're too volatile right now. I don't think you can have them in your top 8, let alone your top 10.
I would put the Packers about 10. I'd put the Titans probably outside of that by just a little bit, and the Vikings for sure. Now, the 9th team is of interest here because the 9th team in ESPN's way too early rankings are the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills actually, quarterback play is going to play a huge role here. But the Buffalo Bills, with what they have personnel-wise, and with Diggs now, look pretty good. Their defense is solid. Now, Allen at quarterback scares me. And I'm very curious, how is Stephon going to take it playing with Allen the first 3 times a ball gets airmailed? Here's the thing that I will defend Kirk on. I'm sure Diggs was frustrated by the fact that there were several occasions when he felt that he could win a matchup and or was just in his mind flat out open, and Kirk couldn't find him, or Kirk, I guess more accurately than didn't find him, because Kirk would be scrambling around and scurrying around, and Diggs would be 35 yards downfield waving his arm in the air saying, throw it to me, and Kirk didn't want to take that chance. But where I will defend Kirk is this one. Remember the plays where he did try and find Diggs deep? Kirk Cousins has something going for him that Stephon Diggs is going to find out his new quarterback doesn't. Tremendous touch.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I think that's what frustrated Diggs, was he knew that if Kirk let that ball go, odds are, even if in Kirk's mind the coverage was good, Stephon Diggs was going to catch that football, right?
Yes.
That's not going to happen in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
That ball is going to get picked, overthrown, or maybe once in a while Diggs will catch it, but those beautiful passes that Cousins could throw on occasions, I think, Declan, are going to be gone. So Stefan, I think, has gone from one area where he was probably frustrated by his use and at times his quarterback's judgment to another where I think he's going to get the ball plenty, at least attempted, but the quarterback's going to drive him far more crazy than Kirk Cousins did.
This Buffalo team, this 2020 entering Buffalo Bills team kind of reminds me of like 08 Vikings, 2012 Vikings, where you have a lot of pieces in place that are very good, and the quarterback is probably going to be the biggest reason why you're not going to be able to get up there.
651-646-8255, 651-646-8255. The show is Ventline. Score North Live, by the way, coming up at noon, and we are going over right now ESPN's way too early National Football League rankings. The Vikings are in the 8th spot, followed by the Bills, and right before the Vikings in the 7th spot are Tennessee. Let's go to the phone lines, and let's go to Kenny. Kenny, what's going on? Welcome to the Coffee Club.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Hey, I've been looking at a lot of rumors and stuff going around on Google, and then they were saying that the Vikings were interested in Trent Williams.
Yes.
And I know a lot of teams have been kind of backing away from him because Redskins are asking too much, but what would you think about trading like a Riley Reef and a 3rd or a 4th for Trent Williams? Because I think Cousins, he has a great arm, but he has no mobility. But I think if he was behind an actually good offensive line, I think he would look really good. So if the franchise thinks he's the guy, I think they should do what they can for the offensive line.
Thank you, sir. Kenny, to your point, first of all, here's the weird thing about Kirk. Kirk is mobile if it's scripted. So that's the thing about Kirk is it's not that he has no ability to move. If it's scripted that he moves, he can move and throw just fine. In fact, he's pretty good. The issue, and this gets back to the left tackle point and left guard, the issue is if Kirk is in the pocket and there's pressure, he can't feel it. Don't confuse athletic ability with a complete inability to feel pressure. Kirk has number 2. He doesn't, but he can move. The problem is unscripted, impromptu, it's time to move. Kirk can't do it. And I still contend that at the end of last season, in the last few games and the playoff game against San Francisco, I think what you saw was the Vikings had told Kirk, if you feel pressure, just drop. Because we saw times where he was just dropping.
Yeah.
And he would cradle the football like a baby, which you should. Because if you think about the alternative is Kirk is easily stripped of the football because of Kirk's inability to feel the pressure from his blind side, which a lot of people don't have. But if you are going to be a really good quarterback, you have to have, and Kirk doesn't have. Trent Williams. All right, let's start there. And in fact, if you go back, I think it was a week ago now, Matthew Collar posted a really nice piece, really good piece, scorenorth.com, on 5 potential impact moves the Vikings could make. And his first one was my favorite one, and that was a Williams trade. So the reports have been out for quite some time now. The Williams camp has been given the authority by the Washington franchise to shop for a trade. And to this point, nothing's gotten done yet. The word is that I've seen going through the same pieces that I think caller Kenny went through is that the Washington team is actually not asking for a first-round pick, but they're asking for a second-round pick, which I'm sure some teams think is too much for a guy who is 31, is coming off health issues. He didn't play last year because of them. I think it was a form, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, of skin cancer. He didn't play for Washington, I think in part because he was upset with the franchise and how they handled things, but also, obviously, that's a significant health scare and why Williams did not play. So the reports are that Washington wants them to bring back a second-round pick and that they'll trade him. I think the bigger problem, and if you are the Vikings and you can get Trent Williams for a second-round pick, you take it in a heartbeat. I think the bigger problem is, especially for the Vikings, it's salary cap and asking price from player. So I don't think that this is if you're the Vikings, this should not be an issue of we won't trade our second round pick. You should jump at that chance. But if you look at where the Vikings are cap wise, I think where they're sort of stuck is, can they work out a deal that the Williams camp is going to accept and take and fit that below the 2020 salary cap, which the Vikings don't have much space. So my guess is what we should be talking about here, or looking at potentially from both standpoints, is more about asking price for player than asking price from current team. Kenny mentioned a potential of, let me see here. It was Reef and a third and fourth round pick. Here's my question, because I keep seeing Reef.
Right.
Who wants Riley Reef?
I agree.
Like, what team is going to say, okay, now here's a start, Riley Reef?
But if you're the Vikings and you acquire Trent Williams, Riley Reef becomes obsolete, doesn't he?
Yeah,
becomes expendable.
You're going to have to probably. He either restructures and has the ability to move to left guard, at which point his price point goes down, or if he doesn't want to do that or can't do that, I think he's probably just gone. But I just keep hearing all of this talk, Declan, about, Riley Reef is out there and can you trade him? I don't think any team, if you're Washington, he does nothing for you.
Right.
So what I think this comes down to is, if the Williams contract would work here and he would take something that would be fair to him but is workable from the Vikings contractual standpoint, could you do a second, let's say a sixth? Because I would do that. And if the Vikings are balking at trading their second round pick, they're crazy. Because by keeping Cousins, you to a certain degree have to admit that you are still, and I don't know how much, but you are still in somewhat for 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. You don't restructure and then sign Cousins to an extension and completely bail. Now, it does look to me like it's very questionable about how deep the Vikings think that they're going to be in for 2020. But if you offer me the chance with a guy who's 31, going to be 32, which in left tackle age is not ancient, if you offer me the chance to, let's say, protect his blind side for the duration of his career with a really good left tackle, the duration of his career in Minnesota, I'm taking it. This is a position that you haven't got right in a long time. And left tackle is huge. And the last time that you went a substantial period of time, and I know this guy could be a screw up, and he certainly was, but he was an athlete. The last time that you had a left tackle who you could rely on, or at least on game day, not off the field as much, Bryant McKinney. That's the last one. Yeah. Matt Khalil busted. After 1 year, Matt Khalil busted.
Yep.
So if you give me the chance, if Williams is healthy, let's say he's 31, going to be 32, left tackles can play for a while. Let's say I can get pretty good quality of play till age 35, 36. I'm jumping. And a second round pick's not going to stop me.
So according to Over the Cap, if he's cut pre-June 1, Riley Reef, that is, it's 4.4 in dead money, and a cap savings of 8.8 for 2020.
Okay.
Right. And right now his base salary, his cap number, because that's more important, I think. His cap number is 13.2.
So
if you don't cut him.
So it's dead 4.4?
Yep, dead 4.4, savings of 8.8.
Yeah, look, it's not perfect, but if you can get me a guy who is going to be, because Reef's okay, and he's certainly not what you would consider to be your biggest problem on that line, but if you can get me the stability that's going to get me through, let's say, 2024, I'm taking it.